this offense to a different level from an offense that was already pretty strong?
Yeah, I just think, and he'll be the first one to tell you, he believes that he's a different player than what everybody's seen so far. And this isn't just wishing. We've seen him do it through the system, and as you watch how he's compared with some of the other players, and I think a lot of it, he's really hard on himself and has high expectations, which will end up being, I think, to his advantage in the long run. But I also think that you can just be so hard on yourself, not allow yourself some of the failure that comes with this game that's inherent to it. So he's learning and he's getting better, and I'm watching him right now. He's in a great place.
A lot of the players talk about the meetings that you run and that you're very inspirational in those meetings, but also like to throw in a couple jokes here and there. Can you kind of walk us through what those are like?
No.
You can't tell us?
No. It's actually nowhere near a strong suit for me. I'm about we got stuff to get done. We need some levity around here, and we have some people we've got to maximize. I'm learning still the personalities of all the support staff, so using their personalities to make up for the many weaknesses of my own, and have some fun. I mean, it comes down, we got stuff we have to get done here. Let's talk about the things that are most important, but after that, let's not be afraid to realize that it's a game, and we can have a good time, and then let people's personalities shine, who they are. Some of these guys, I believe I could have been a better player if I'd have known how to mix a little more fun and enjoy. I enjoyed it, but it just looked different. I want to make sure these guys have that atmosphere and be who they are.
More on the atmosphere, Nicky Lopez told us practice yesterday was pretty intense, maybe more than has been in the past. Does that stem down from you? I mean, you got to get things done, right? But some of the guys said it's not as much as long as it is intense. And no lollygagging was the word that was used.
No lollygaggers. They're driving this. They're driving the bus here, and this is kind of what they've asked for. What do you guys want to see? What do you want to accomplish? And okay, let's be realistic. How do we get there? I mean, is it just a bunch of senseless chatter, or is it got some teeth to it? And to the man, as we've had these conversations, they've kind of helped set what the tone is. And for me, it's just a pleasure to watch when you give them the opportunity what they do. There has to be buy-in, and it has to be real. And the leadership that we're having from these guys and the ownership that they're taking, the intensity, the urgency, I mean, that's them. We can create an atmosphere and say whatever we want to say, but when we get out here, it's what's really inside of them and what they want to do.
Some of the young pitchers, Brady and Jackson, they said that you took time and met with them last season wherever they were playing. First off, they talked about how much it meant to them, but what are your expectations for some of those young guys?
Yeah, I was pretty sure they didn't know who I was. That's fine. Expectations are to come in here and show what you got. That's what I tell every one of the young guys here. We want to see you come out and showcase what you can do. Put the throttle down and trust us to pump the brakes for you. They've got long seasons ahead of them. They're experiencing things they've never experienced before. We're starting really early. All that leads into needing the staff and those of us who are watching them closely kind of put some parameters of what it should look like right now. We've done that already, slow them down a little bit. But for the most part, come out here, do what you do that's allowed you to be in the position that you are right now. Allow us to show you some things that might be able to help you take it even further. But in the meanwhile, just like we started this conversation, be yourself. Be yourself and come out here and compete.
Those guys are living together too. Right? What can they gain from being a group of young guys kind of going through this all together?
Yeah, we always make fun of that. Baseball usually you have forced friendships. I mean, these guys are choosing to hang out. That's pretty good. So I think what they do is what you'd love to see, especially with pitching staff. How do you get that healthy competition to where guys are pushing each other? They're focused on the team. It's the team ahead of my own personal achievements. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to bring something that you're going to have to try and keep up with. And when you've got guys kind of wired like that, it's pretty special.
Mike, you mentioned, talking about first base a little bit there, and I know you talked about potential platoon spots. With the roster construction, how it's going to be, how many platoon spots do you think you can have over the course of a season?
I think depending on the flexibility of your roster, but when you have guys that can play in the center field and play in the middle of the infield, I mean, you kind of
right.
pretty. get real creative. But there's no question, we've talked about it around first base, and this, I think the guys need to kind of change their mindset. This isn't a knock on what they can't do. It's allowing us to help them and create a better atmosphere. Not just better atmosphere, but better matchups. Where's a spot where you can go in and you're set up for success? And I know every one of our left-handers believes and knows that they can hit a left-handed pitcher. But there's some things that we know that tell us that maybe our team will have a better shot if we try and maximize, and we're keeping our bench involved all the time. I think you can see that sort of thing happen in the outfield at time as well. So I think it's just having those conversations. Here's what we've got. Here's what we're facing. Here's the information that we know about you and about the opposition. We're going to try and maximize it, and once again, trying to get the guys to trust that that's the whole vision. We're not trying to throw them into you're a platoon player for life, but right now, right here today, this gives us our best chance to win.
And as a follow-up, you talked about the flexibility, kind of hitting it wit, obviously, and his ability to bounce back and forth. There are a number of teams out there that have really massaged the roster. And I guess it's a little easier with 26, but they're still limited to 13 pitchers. I know how much pitching it is. Is that something like organizationally you talk about? Like, hey, we need to, instead of throwing a guy at one spot, let's keep them playing all those spots coming up through the minors so when they get up here, you have that flexibility there?
I think, you want players who look to be everyday players eventually in the major leagues. You want them to keep growing as everyday players. But to break in here, that's not always the option. So if there's a player who shows, and we have guys out here in this camp as well who can play the middle of the infield and can play the center field, not just Witt. You start talking about Reynolds, you start talking about Mejia, some guys, to me, without ever going through a 26-man roster before, that would be very helpful to have a guy that we know we can plug in. And if you can play him in center, they're most likely going to be able to play the corners. And if you can play at shortstop, you're most likely to be able to play anywhere on the infield. That versatility gives us a whole lot of different ways of approaching each individual game, whether it's a pinch runner, pinch hitter. We have coverage all over the infield and outfield.
I know you said you study the game in your time away, and baseball seemingly kind of didn't change for 100 years, right? And then over the last 20 years, it's been all this rapid change. And it was guys kind of got typecast. Like now we have two-way players, pitcher and hitter. Is that something the game kind of made a mistake and just throwing a guy in a spot and typecasting in that and not using that flexibility? Most kids in high school, they play all over the place, but they get to pro ball and it's like, this is what you are.
Yeah, I think you go out and you go look at the high school stats of every guy out here. They were the best hitter and best pitcher, most of them on their team. They're just pure athletes. It's getting a little more specialized now. I think it's not the game at the major league level necessarily made that mistake. Unfortunately, him and these kids in at age 6, you're a pitcher only. What is that? I mean, unfortunately, it just doesn't allow them to experience more of the game, and then they don't have some of those skills to build up. But I think it is going to change. I think, especially as we start having to name, when you see the Otanis of the world, I mean, there's only so many guys in the league that can play on both sides, but also talk about that flexibility. It allows you so many different options, but there's just not many guys right now that can do that at this level. But I think you may see more of it in the future.
Talk about those high school guys that can do everything. Bubba Starling, one of those guys trying to make a spot, and if you look and do the math with 13 pitchers, only maybe 3 spots open for some of those guys to make it. So how does he and the other guys in his situation, how do they catch your eye?
Yeah, I watched Bubba all last spring, and he did a great job, and watched him continue to improve, and what a celebration it was in Kansas City when he showed up. I mean, just the local boy, and he came in and did some great things. And what we're going to need him to do is improve on every part of his game, every part, the offensive side, more consistency. Made some amazing plays defensively last year, but we've got some talent out there. We've got some guys that can cover ground. We got guys who can throw the ball real well. It's going to be part of the whole package, but understanding too that we've got guys who need to fill different roles. And Bubba, just want to watch him continue to get better, but he's going to get a lot of opportunity. All of our outfielders in this camp will, especially some of the young guys that aren't roster players. They get lots of at-bats. We'll get our big boys in, we'll get them out, and then go shine, go show your stuff. And Bubba's going to get times to start, as well as Phillips. You're going to see a Nick Heath out there, guys that bring that speed component, as well as just great defense. And every one of them knows that they can hit more than what they've done.
Speaking of development, you've had some guys play in the Dominican League. Is that valuable for their growth, and what do you take away from that experience?
I think it's priceless. You're seeing less of it all the time. I know for myself, the experience gave me great appreciation just for the culture great appreciation for the players. Just an understanding of what it is that they've gone through, a little more empathy. But it also, you're trying to replicate those at-bats, and I don't know where you can do that for the guys, especially, they're just great arms. I mean, every night you're facing somebody throwing hard and with good stuff, so it's a great challenge for them. I think it's good for the pitchers to get out there, the ones that need the extra innings. It's important, especially as you're trying to build up that overall workload. You can't just simulate that in bullpens back here in the States. You got to go find a place to play, and real proud of how the guys went out. Some of them really kind of put themselves on the radar too. Hey, this is what he did when he was in the DR, or when Puerto Rico's going strong, or when Venezuela's allowed to have. I mean, it says a lot about them as a player.
Are there organizations that are better with the Latin culture? Is that something that was like a big deal when Dayton came back? Because there was, there are stories that this organization that spent like 20 grand over 10 years in Latin America, and then Dayton came in and really changed that, and really went after the Latin players and kind of changed the culture. Is there a noticeable difference here? And I know you've been in all 30 clubhouses, right? All 30 organizations, but is that one you look at this and that there's a dedication to the Latin player here?
I think we're out everywhere looking for talent all over the world. I mean, we've got kids from Europe that are coming into spring training through the minor league system. I mean, we've got looking to the far reaches. Where can we find talent? And you're going to find some kids in Latin America. There's just a passion there. I've been taking a group of young kids, even in their early teens, down just to experience. You want to see passion for the game. You want to see pickup games in the middle of an open field. Go down to the DR. You're going to see it. You don't see that here. So I think it's that passion usually helps the development. That's why you're seeing so much talent come out of places like the Dominican Republic, like Puerto Rico and Venezuela, and many other Latin American countries. So it's smart. It's a good investment as far as just the business perspective. But you're seeing some players come out that are very advanced. It's because of the passion that culture has for the game.